We don't hear often, so change the music to a little bop beat. Kind of cute, huh? Welcome to one of the first Sunday sermons we've done in a while. I'm going to try to do a couple of programs the next few weeks in honor of women. We'll be focusing on women and our place in society historically. My windows, for some reason, I don't understand what's going on here. And, just kind of cover some of the things that women have done, where we've come from, our impact on society, our impact on relationships, our impact on our families, and our impact on ourselves. So we'll be, delving into a few things as I can put stuff together. Probably won't be a lot, but it'll be something. But today I want to talk about a video I posted in the community wall on YouTube. It was just a very short interview. You know how you CNN does things they're like 3-minute segments, I think. And it was an interview with this NYU professor named Scott Galloway. And dude is extremely passionate about the state of young men in America, which impacts the state of marriage and relationships, and therefore families in this country. And he's ringing the alarm loud and clear about the problems with young men and how this is going to have a trickle-down effect on the rest of our society if something is not done quickly to turn things around. Personally, I think it's a little bit too late, but we're not going to worry about what I think quite yet. We're going to talk about Professor Galloway and the issues that he raises. So if you haven't seen it, it's on the community wall on YouTube. I think I also linked it in the show description page, so you should be able to see it, even if you're on Twitch or whatever. The link should be there, and you can take a quick look at it so that you understand what I'm saying as we move through the show. Now, what I did was some weeks ago, I guess it's been a couple of months ago, we did a show on single women being childless and not choosing to have children or be married, and went through a lot of statistics on that and why women are making that choice, and even the ones who did choose to get married are making the choice to get a divorce and then never marry again. So we have a lot of women like that who have just given up on dating altogether that are on this channel, and they are very vocal about the reasons why. Women who have been married and said, "Oh, never again, ever." They also have shared a lot of their experiences. And throughout this discussion, I pulled some quotes from the community wall and from underneath some of the videos that kind of illustrate those. So let's get started. We got a slideshow today. And this is what I'm calling the unpartnered, unbothered American woman and her impact on U.S. society. I will be inviting you guys to call in a little bit later. I also want to ask that you, if you have not already, go on the YouTube channel for the show page for this show and vote in the survey that's there. I want to post the survey results near the end of the show.
But for those of you who have not yet taken the time to place your vote, please do so. That's on the YouTube channel on the wall for this show page. That's where you'll find it. Okay. So those are the questions that it's asking there. This was a shot I did before I made it live. So it's asking, what you feel about men in society today. So just take a second, probably take you 10 seconds to place your vote. Now, this is a slide I wanted to reuse because of the fact that it's so pertinent to the discussion today. This is another behavioral scientist. We talked about him in the article with the fall of men. I can't remember the guy's name. Matos. Greg Matos wrote an article that went viral a couple of months ago, talking about men and why women don't want to be with them, how they're falling behind in society and all that. And this guy also was commenting on that article and talking about marriage. And so he's basically of the mind that if you're a man, you should probably get married because it's been scientifically proven to be better for men to be in a married state. And Dr. Galloway agrees with him. However, he says, if you're a woman, don't bother. Well, that's kind of a problem. Who are these men supposed to marry each other? That's not going to work. But let's see, let's go through this. So that was Professor Dolan, and he's at the London School of Economics, and says that while men benefit from being married, women generally do not. Additionally, he reported that unmarried and childless women are also likely to outlive the married child-rearing women, their counterparts, and they're healthier as well. So this means that single, childless women live longer and are healthier than women that are married and have children. The latest data demonstrates that long-established traditional symbols of success did not necessarily correlate with happiness levels for women. So that means, being married with 2.5 children, a dog, and a house with a white picket fence. That was pushed out as the American dream of happiness for the middle-class family. But in his mind, behavioral scientist who's done research on this, that did not correlate to happiness for women, only for men. I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting. So this is what the guys are referring to, this 2019 Harvard University study that found that men overall benefited from marriage with a reduced mortality rate, which meant they lived longer. They had better heart health. They improved their healing from cancer and other chronic diseases like, diabetes and hypertension, that kind of thing. Overwhelmingly, research shows that men live longer and suffer from fewer health issues when married. Why? Most likely because they have someone who's kind of making sure that they eat right, get their rest, and see a doctor. I would imagine it's probably something like that. Usually, not all the time, women, are responsible for the food shopping and what kind of stuff is in the house and what's on the dinner table and what's in lunch boxes. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. So then these are some of the quotes I pulled from the wall. And asking the question, if you're going to think about a relationship and you want to get with a guy, what do modern men have to offer? Now, we're not going to use that trite phrase that they use, what you bring to the table. I don't care about all of that. What I want to know is if women are graduating from college at higher rates than men, women are making almost as much money as men, because it's one thing, this article I read, hold on a second, let me find it, because I dropped this right before I came in here to sit down to do the show. Okay, it's an article in a website called The Hill. It says most young men are single, but most young women are not, is the title, which is kind of odd. But it basically says that 60% of young men are single, which is nearly twice the rate of young women, signaling a larger breakdown in the social, romantic, and sexual life of the American male. It says men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, intimacy, and relationships that afflict all young America. And they call it a crisis of connection. And I'm trying to find the What I saw was a statistic about income and how women have caught up. Man, if only I were more organized, this would be better. Now I don't know where I saw it, but anyway, it's like there's the difference in income. Men still make a little bit more, but the income, the amount that they make more is less than $50 a week now on average. So, women are closing that wage gap too. That's what I remember, but I can't remember where I saw it. So whatever. Anyway, let's move on. So this young lady, um, this is her assessment and opinion about what's going on in male female relationships these days. She says, I've been wondering for a long time when women would finally get fed up with males and their nonsense. They are purposely hurting us as much as they possibly can. The married ones don't even bother to stop dating. The celibate ones want us deceased. They don't want to pay the bills. They leave their children to be raised alone. And then they have the nerve to think women should give up their autonomy and agencies to submit to them. Why on earth would any woman submit to a man who doesn't love her, doesn't take care of her, and isn't more successful than she is? My grandma was trapped with my cheating grandfather. She didn't even have a driver's license. She had 5 children, breech birth, and he was out cheating on her when she had 2 kids under 4 and a dying baby. She had 2 heart attacks at age 50 when my sister was born, and grandma found out that he was cheating on her again. My uncle cheated on my aunt after she lost their twins at 5 months, and the women in my family were saying that my aunt should forgive him. I remember I was a little girl and I think to myself, no way should she ever forgive him. And she didn't. She had a good job at a trucking company as a dispatcher and she took care of herself and she never remarried. Both my grandma and aunt were very beautiful and loving too, but it didn't matter. My ex husband didn't want me after I broke my neck and jaw, but he abused and neglected me until I finally left him. But men are the first ones to say, you'll die alone with cats. I was married at 25 and still nearly died alone. Men do not love us at all. I'd rather die alone with my dog than to experience yet another flaky, diabolical male who doesn't care about me. His second wife was my best friend's cousin, so even my girlfriend picked his side. She actually died whilst married to him. At least he only got to wish me dead. And that's the screen name she used, Toscadana. And do you know how many women liked this comment? How many women agreed with what she said? How many women had similar experiences to this? From the men that these doctors are saying are suffering because women don't want to be with them. If this is the kind of attitude that they have, even when they do have a woman, please explain to me what benefit it is for a woman to be with them. There's no benefit to her. She's just going to be getting hurt and wounded and cheated on and lied to and abused. And we hear that enough in dating relationships on this channel because, I don't really, I mean, I answer some questions for married couples, but this really isn't the format for marriage counseling. This is a singles advice show for single people dating. So, every week, 25 letters come into the advice column, and every week is more of the same stuff. And the letters come in from all over the world. So it shows that the dust mite-ness of men is not limited to African American men. It's not limited to American men. It's Canada. It's all over Europe. It's in South Korea. It's in Africa. It's in Australia. It's in New Zealand. I'm trying to think of the places, the Caribbean islands. I mean, all the places that we've gotten letters from over the last few years. The men seem to be the same. This is a problem with men worldwide. So let's move on. What most women are looking at these days is becoming a swan. They're just really looking at men and they're looking at relationships and they're weighing it. Is the cost, what I'm going to have to give up, what's going to cost me to be with this man or any other man, is it going to balance out the scale of what's going to happen to me, how I'm going to feel, and what I'm going to have to give up? and they're looking and the scales are out of balance. They're going to have to give too much for the little return that they get. So that means, women who don't want to be bothered with all of that, they prefer to keep their energy to make forward progress for themselves and perhaps any children that they already have, their extended family, their parents, maybe setting them up, for retirement, whatever. They're looking at doing other things with their lives, their time, and their resources than investing them in men who aren't going to love them back, not the way they need to be loved. These guys don't want to take a woman out on a date. They complain about that. So, this doctor, I mean, I understand what he's done and his research, and he's focused on men. He's very adamant that because he's focusing on men does not mean that he's anti-woman, and I know what he means because I had the same thing when I focus on women. They say you hate men. It's not that at all. So I totally get where he's coming from. But if you're focusing on the problems with one demographic, the people that were left out tend to get in their feelings about it because they feel entitled to equal time and attention and, like they're more deserving. So you can't just talk about like Black women because then some of the white women come in here and they get upset. You can't just talk about men because then they get up, women get upset. Well, what about us? You can't just talk about women because they're the men. Well, what about us? So I know exactly what he's talking about, and it is a pain in the butt. However, we have to look at with the age group of people that would be getting married, having children, establishing households, and all of that. I'm wondering why he didn't. One component of his research that he left out is what do women think about these guys? You're saying this is what these guys need in order, this is what society is going to have to do to turn things around. But have you ever asked women what they think the problem is with these men? You're looking at it from your lens as a guy and an older, more mature, educated man who's obviously very successful in his career. You don't just get to be a professor at NYU and you ain't got some heat. So, dude's obviously very successful in what he's attempting to do with his life. But, in order for a man to be deemed attractive to a woman enough for her to put whatever she's doing aside and focus on that man and being with him, he has to be stellar. And I mean, even by this doctor's own admission, the young men of today ain't about nothing. They're nothing. And so, and they're not trying to be nothing. That's the problem that most women have. And so they come to you and they're like, well, I need you to help me. No, I'm not going to do that. Why should I do that? What's in it for me to help you? Who helped me? Why do these guys think that, all this help needs to be given to men in order for them to be on a level playing field with women? Why do men need all this help when women did it by ourselves? And not only did we have to do it by ourselves, we had to do it in light of the fact that we were getting beaten down with all kinds of different abuses and assaults and stuff, as well as denied access to things, as well as sexual harassment and sexism. And then if you Black or Latina or Asian or something, then you throw some racism in the mix. So if we can overcome all of those things and still make it up and do what we want to do as women, what is the problem with these dudes? Somebody please explain that to me. Doesn't that just mean that women are stronger and better than men? So therefore women deserve to be at the front because we fought for it. Whereas men sat on their butts and now want to complain and have the government step in and take care of them and fix things. So let's go on and talk about this some more because that got on my nerves. These are the kind of things that make women happy. Won't read it, but you can just look at this list yourself. This list was created for a previous show by interviewing women on the channel. They had multiple choice. It was a multiple choice survey that I put up on Google. And these were the things that, summing up what women said they needed to be happy, this was the list. Okay. So when you look at what men are offering and what women had to scrape and climb out of holes and fight to get, the new research shows that for women, being single is more desirable than being in a relationship. I'm serious. Judging by the advice letters that come in, 90% of those girls, I'm sitting there scratching my head like, what are you getting out of this that you want to insist on saving this relationship? You should just give this up like with the quickness, because this is stupid. This makes no sense. But yet, there's something in the back of their mind. They haven't yet arrived at the place where they're more concerned with themselves and meeting their own needs socially, mentally, emotionally, and financially. They're still in that state of Disney where they feel like they need their knight in shining armor, their prince, to save them and to be with them and all stuff. When they get a little older, they'll wake up, but they're still there right now. So this research, this data analyst Mintel indicates that women are more satisfied with being single than men are and are less likely to look for a relationship. I think a lot of that, oh, well, here we go. A lot of that has to do with women. They have to work too hard in a relationship. Once a woman enters a relationship, there's so many expectations of her. All men are really expected to do is, quote, help a little bit and then to be somewhat of a provider. But they don't even have to do that by themselves because most women work. If they don't, they want to. So he's not even doing that by himself. But women are taking on all the emotional labors, all the birthday party planning, the gift shopping, the Christmas tree putting up, telling him to put the lights up or something after she done dragged him out the garage off the shelf. She decorates the house. She cleans everything before guests come over. She buys the kids' outfits. She does all the kids' hair. She makes sure that the meals are prepared. She makes sure everybody's eating well. Everyone goes to the doctor, that everyone's happy. They get their needs met at the house. They get hugs and kisses. They get attention. This is a woman who's married and is a mother. This is her life. She's driving kids around. She makes sure homework's done. She's makes sure everybody got their shots on time. Not to mention if you have pets, and she's running them to the vet and all this kind of stuff too. So when you think about all the stuff that the demands put on women once they decide to have a husband and a child, a lot of single women are looking at that saying, "Oh, hell to the no! I'm not trying to do all of that. That's like free labor. It's like a slave and a maid and a chauffeur all combined, and you don't get nothing out of it. Nothing. Where is the benefit to a woman to give all of that to all these other people? They just take and take and take and take and take and don't give her anything back. And then a husband that's supposed to love her, he's all over the internet sliding into people's DMs and running around cheating and bringing home diseases and talking crazy to her and not holding up his end of the bargain and stuff like that. So she's suffering. This is the reality for most married women. This is the kind of stuff they have to deal with. Even if he's not being really mean to him, he's still ignoring him and not really holding up his end of the bargain. She got to remind him and nag him and stuff, and then he's gonna get mad because she's doing that. It's like whereas if he just acted like an adult and stood up and did what he's supposed to do without anybody having to tell him like his mother, then she wouldn't have to put in that extra emotional labor to treat him like a child. Like she had to tell one of the kids, clean your room, Johnny. Honey, take the garbage out. You feel me? It's the same thing. The other thing that makes women not really look at marriage as being such a good ideal thing for them is that women tend to have a greater social network. We interact more with our families and we interact more with our friends. We form, even if they're not like long lasting friendships, we have camaraderie and pretty friendly associates, even at jobs or in clubs we go to, at the gym, everywhere we go. Women tend to be more engaging with other women and talk about our kids, we talk about hair, we talk about something we saw online, we talk about the view, we gossip, whatever. But there's this bonding and sisterhood and conversation and sharing of emotions and support that women get for each other and we give to each other willingly and freely. We don't have to feel it's not a tit for tat thing, and we're not looking for payment for it. It's just something that we do. We support each other. And but whereas men most of the time don't have that kind of network, they don't even have friends, according to recent statistics I've been reading. Most men don't even have a close friend. So they look at their woman as being the sole provider of their emotional maintenance. So she has to hear all his problems. She has to hear all his whining, all his frustrations, try to prop him up and do all this kind of stuff where she has people around her to help do that for her. But she's carries the whole burden of doing all of that for her husband because he's such a bum, our boyfriend, that he won't even get himself some friends and build a network. So, it just becomes a big burden for women. And these dudes don't even realize how much weight that is for one person to carry you and all your drama, all your needs, wishes, and hopes on her shoulders, plus that of the kids and everybody else in the household. It's too much. It's too fucking much. So let's talk about Professor Galloway. Oh God, why did I put this down? Professor Galloway's some key points from his interview on CNN. He says that, the relationships are in turmoil, right? Relationships are the problem. And now online dating accounts for 50% of relationships. But there's 3 men to every 1 woman on Tinder. He also says that the men, even though there's more men, the majority of them are in the lower half of attractiveness, whereas the top 20% of men who are attractive get 60% of the women's interest. So the guys who are, the top 20% of men garner more than half of all the women on the site's interest. Now, he sees that as a problem. I see that as what the dudes who don't meet that standard should be doing is looking at them and emulating them instead of sitting around complaining about how nobody wants them. You got a real life model right there about what you can do to make yourself better and more attractive to women. But yet somehow they don't see it that way. They think that, with their mouth breathing, belly tight, dirty shirts on and stuff and scratching their nuts and just breathing funny and farting and stuff and playing video games, don't have no conversation, don't have any hobbies or interests. Nothing about them is of interest to women. And yet they feel deserving of a girlfriend and or wife. Have you looked in the mirror? There's nothing about you that don't even have no job, or they have some Mickey Mouse job. They don't have no money. Oh my God. Remember this? Hold on, let me find it. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. This was a recent video upload. Meet or find women who will be interested in a guy who has no job or car at the moment, or are all girls going for guys with only money and a good job? Okay, first of all, let's rewind here. Let's rewind. Yes, that would be a good idea. Thank you, Giggles. I forgot to say that. First of all, young man, you trying to make it sound like there's something wrong with a girl who wants a guy who has a job and some money. No, the one thing that's wrong is you. You broke. Okay, so don't be trying to put down what girls want as long so they want a guy who can do something. He can take them places. He can get them gifts. He dresses nice. He doesn't have to take them on the bus, or he's gonna be in their car all the time using up all their gas. And now he can't pay no reimburser, fill up her tank because he don't have no money. So basically, what you would be wanting a girlfriend was typically for yourself and the physical benefits that you perceive that you would get from it. But you're not offering her anything. So you can't afford to take her nowhere. You can't afford to do anything nice for her. You can't even buy her a bouquet of flowers. You can't do shit. So what you need to be doing instead of worrying about some woman is focusing on getting yourself situated. You in the 22 to 27 age group, this is the time of your life where you should be laying a foundation for the rest of your life. For you to be a mature man, this is the work that you should be putting in right now, not chasing skirts. So you're going to go out and you're going to put a job. Every place is hiring. So there's no reason why you don't have a job. Every place, it's like all the restaurants, all the fast food, people are desperate for people to come and work in their places. Copy centers, anything. If you have no work experience, you can still get a job. Get on something that's on a bus line that you can get back and forth to easily from your house and start making the magic happen. Once you get that job, then you can start looking for a better one. You see how this goes? But you just sitting around complaining because women don't want somebody who's a broke, dusty bum. Well, that's not going to fly. There's no reason for her to like you. What you going to do? What, you just go sit there staring at her? Coming over to her house all the time, eating up all her food and run up her light bill and stuff because you can't pay nothing because you don't have no money. Though a guy with no money should not try to date. Okay, there's what you doing. Your energy should be diverted to something else that's productive and that's trying to work and establish yourself. You should not be chasing skirts, and you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to watch my language. Yeah, he had no business trying to date somebody. And the way he put it, though, did you guys hear that? Let me just read this again. Or are all girls going for guys with only money and a good job? As if there's something wrong with that. God, you let me have brought on some dude who wasn't working and didn't have nothing and watch my daddy act a complete fool. I mean, like a circus full of fools. And then probably start cussing and tossing the boy out. So, there's certain, depending on how that girl was raised, she's not going to be down with that. Now, I'm not going to say you can't find somebody who would be okay with it. But the 99% of women are not going to want to be bothered with you. That 1% that might, I don't know, there's some women that self-esteem is so low that they will take anything. They'll try to, quote, work with you. They care if they have to go out and collect bottles and cardboard with you as long as you together. That must be the kind of woman that you're looking for. But chances are you're not going to want her because she's not going to be attractive. The kind of women don't tend to be real, cute. They're not in real demand because women who are in demand know that they deserve better. Women who aren't in demand will pretty much take anything because they're lonely and tired of being by themselves. So, you go and find somebody like that look like a Gila monster, she might accept you. And this little broke situation you got here. But any woman who's got is on her grind, she's not going to want to be bothered with you. So that, I don't know if you guys remember that. It was a clip from one of the What the Fuck Tuesday video, but it was responding to a young man who was very, he wanted to know if he could qualify to get him a girlfriend, even though he didn't have a car, didn't have a job, and didn't have his own place. And I'm like, what? What would she be trying to do anything with you for? Little broke butt Dusty. So anyway, and then the second point that Professor Scott Galloway brought up was that, so the CNN host asked him, well, Scott, due to the way society is, I mean, in mating, the best options have always gone to the men with the best looks and the most resources. What's changed? And, he didn't really have an answer for that per se. But what he did reference was that at the end of World War II, that President Eisenhower decided, that's when the GI Bill and all that was established. And so all these men who, some of them, hadn't even graduated from high school yet or just graduated from high school, they didn't have any advanced education. They didn't really have any prospects for employment. They was going to maybe work on the family farm or something like that. He created the GI Bill so that these guys could come out and have the money to buy a home, low-cost home with low-cost mortgages, and get these little jobs in manufacturing that they set up. They are all these highways that we have in the country, those were built at that time because Eisenhower set aside billions of dollars to make that happen and gave all those young men jobs to build this highway infrastructure that we have to this day. And it was brilliant planning on his part. The only problem is what he basically did was he propped up falsely an entire generation of men who would have been at the bottom of the dating pile. They had opportunities that they would not have otherwise had because by presenting themselves with a job and with a home, they were able to attract women who, were looking for security when these guys normally wouldn't have been chosen. But that the GI Bill gave them an opportunity to present themselves as something attractive and stable and something that a woman would choose to be a husband and a father. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got picked. I'll have some more on that in a minute. So this basically meant that Eisenhower and his policies instituted after World War II single-handedly created the middle class of America. That was it. That was when that happened. But like I said, it was built on a foundation of sand because what happened as the decades passed, the American business environment changed, and the manufacturing and plants and all the stuff that we used to have, these uneducated men could work at and make great money, went away. They were sent overseas because the cost was half. It made the corporations more profit. It was more profitable for them to get the stuff created overseas and shipped over here. It still saved them money from dealing with American unions and taxes and all of that. So it was very interesting, and I think they didn't really think that deep into it, or of course, nobody's a mind reader, be no crystal ball, be able to see it in the future and know about the semiconductor industry and developing computers and all this stuff. I mean, they probably so far from reality at that time they didn't even think about it. But that was a big impact. Like I said, I'll go into that in a little bit more because there were some other aspects of things that happened right around that same time that had a long-term effect on American society too. Dr. Galloway also admitted that men and women have different mating criteria. According to him, 25% of men said that economic viability is a key issue in choosing a mate for males, but 75% of women say that it is for women. So you see the discrepancy there. Men are focused on looks, physical attraction. Women are looking for economic viability as well as being attracted to you. They can be attracted to you, but you're not going to be husband material because you're just going to be like somebody to fool around with if she even wants to waste time doing that. If she's seriously on her grind, she's just going to look at you and say, oh, well, he's cute. And she's going to keep it moving because she's not trying to get caught up with a potential cute dusty. She wants a man who has the full package. If she offering the full package, she has a right to expect that. So why should she settle just because you're cute? You don't have nothing else going on for yourself. It's an interesting thing. So then we move on. He admits that women have made great strides in the last 40 years. And now single women own more homes than single men, and they have way more college degrees than single men do. I forgot what the statistics are. But he also, this point about there being 3 men to every 1 woman, he says, when you take out the key issues of like, the vibe that you get when you're with somebody, the reading body language, pheromones, the ability to be a little bit persistent in pursuing a relationship, like he's like flirting, calling the person, asking them out, this kind of stuff. Those kind of things, dancing with them, those kind of things are out of the picture when people are meeting online. It's a very two-dimensional thing. All you're doing is looking at someone's picture and reading something that they wrote, which may or may not be true. They could have copied it from somewhere else, or it may not be a really well written, so it doesn't really give you a good insight into who or what they are. So, you make a decision in 3 seconds if this person is on your radar or not by swiping right or swiping left. That's what dating has been reduced to. He's very concerned about it. I don't mess with them what I call them swipey things. I just don't see the benefit personally, but whatever. The main thing that he's very worried about is that the middle class is disappearing. So basically what you're going to have is very wealthy Americans that will tend to be older and very poor Americans who will tend to be younger. If the younger people can't afford to live on their own and they can't afford to get married and they definitely can't afford to have children, we're headed in the direction of Japan and so many other countries where the birth rate drops off a cliff and the country ages until there's nobody left and just like very young children. I think that has a lot to do with why, they were such alarm and want to end free, abortion rights from women. That I think is behind some of it. This concern that, there's going to be even fewer births. But the part that they didn't understand, what men did not fail to think about is if women don't want to have a child and they can't get a termination, you know what that means for men? No nook. Because the women don't want to take the chance of getting pregnant with a kid that she doesn't want. So she's going to avoid relationships, and that's exactly what's happening. She's going to avoid dating, and she's going to avoid any kind of physical intimacy with someone who can get her pregnant. So men who did not fight to keep abortion for women, your dumbasses are going to be paying the price for that. You thought that you were punishing women. No, you're punishing yourselves, you idiots. You should have stepped up and fought tooth and nail with all your government representatives to make sure that the women in at least your area still had access to safe, medically safe abortion. But you didn't do that. You sat on your butt thinking, well, it was only talking about women, not understanding the trickle down effect here. If they can't get rid of something that they don't want, then you ain't going to get the opportunity to even think about getting them pregnant. And that's what's happening. So more and more women, after that law change, they're dropping out of the dating scene altogether. They don't want nothing to do with men because they don't want to get pregnant. Y'all did that to yourselves. I hope you're happy with your short-sightedness. And then finally, I have some more things from him too, but these are some of the key points. He estimates that by the turn of the century, there's going to be 8 times as many people over 60 as there are now. 8 times. Because the boomers and the next generation after the boomers, Gen X, are, aging out. And then half as many children because the young people can't afford to have families and they're not dating and they're not getting married. So children are going to be like, something that you look at in a museum or something, look online at pictures of it. It's like, oh, wow, look at that. They're extinct now. Or there's like 5 left in Minnesota. It's going to be a trip. So that's what he's concerned about. And it's, when you looking at what's going on, I mean, it sounds like a very realistic thing. I want to remind you, if you have not already, please go to the YouTube wall and vote in our survey for this show. It's on the show page. Just cast your vote there because I will be, I don't know, probably about 20 minutes. I'm going to go over there and do a screenshot and show the results. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. So do women suffer in marriage? Absolutely. Absolutely. Some women are willing to do it though. I mean, they feel like, they're okay with it. But what women want is to be supported and to be supportive and to have shared experiences and to trust their man and to grow together and laugh together and build their lives together and be together till they're old and wrinkly and gray-headed. That's what they, dream of when they get married, but that doesn't really seem to be what happens. And so they disillusioned, they dip out of the marriage. And that's why so many women file for divorce. So these are some of the reasons that women gave why they prefer to be single and child-free. It might be good. I wish that Dr. Scott Galloway had considered, asking women from their perspective. His writing was, just really focused just on the men. But you focus on this is what happened to men and this is how they're responding to it. But the missing piece of this little trapezoid thing here is that you have to figure out, okay, those are the things that's happening and those are the results of it. But why is it happening? What is the missing piece here? And so he didn't talk about that part, but this is the reason why women have, weighing, like I said, there's a game here. You got to weigh the pros and the cons, and the pros is coming up short and the cons are heavy indeed. And so younger women with options now, they don't have to get married, are opting not to. They don't have to date because why date if you not have no intention of getting married and you don't really want to be bothered with men anyway? Why would you date? These are some of the reasons that the women gave. Again, this is research that we did for a previous show on a survey that I put up on Google, on my Google Drive. And this kind of sums up the answers that were given. I don't remember if they're necessarily in order. They probably are, but I don't remember. But, I kind of like consolidated the responses into some general categories instead of listing each one. So these turned out to be, the main reasons why women just decide they just like to be single and don't want to have any kids. Okay. There it is, that cost benefit analysis. The cost is too high for the perceived benefits. These are some more statistics on women in marriage and children. In 1980, the average age for children to have children was 22. Now that's 26. And as as the years pass, it's getting older and older. The higher income and the more educated a woman is, the more likely she is to marry later in life, with the average age now being about 30. People have to admit that children are ridiculously expensive, especially since the federal government decided to take away with the child tax credit. It's just, why would they do you complain that you want more kids, but then you make it harder for people to have when you don't give them any help with it? That was a stupid move. I don't know who decided to do that. And then, the one of the things that women want the most in a relationship is good communication and a feeling like we're in this together. But if you have men who don't talk to you and they go out of their way to do things like stonewall or turn their back and abandon you, just walk away. Well, what does that do for that woman's feeling validated and secure in her relationship? That they have problems that they're going to work out and they're going to be together while they do it. It doesn't work like that, you idiot dudes. It doesn't work. You think you're taking care of yourself, but what you're really doing is destroying your relationship. You're destroying your woman's trust and love for you. And once a woman falls out of love with you, it's a wrap. Y'all think it happens because all of a sudden, oh my God, what happened? Why I just came home from work and she was gone and she said she's sick of me and the marriage is over. It was so sudden. No, she been trying to talk to your silly butt for years and you didn't listen. You didn't pay any attention. You did what you wanted to do. You thought what you wanted was more important than what she wanted. And then, you just kept blowing her off and I don't want to hear that and all this kind of stuff. And so finally she stops talking. And once she slides into indifference, your marriage is over. Even if she's physically still there, it's over. It's over. That's why it seems like to you it was sudden and like overnight. But she's been falling out of love with you a little bit at a time after giving you chance after chance after chance after chance. And you ignored her, you stonewalled her, you gaslit her, you lied to her, you twisted up facts, you corner cut, and you just left her to do everything by herself. At that point, she doesn't need you anymore. You did that to yourself. So this Dr. Galloway, I'm like, dude, you should have talked to me. I could have gave you all kinds of tea on why this is how it is and how it's never going to turn around until you and your cronies, you all want to sit around and talk about what men need. When you going to do it for them then? Don't be talking about what men need and trying to assign women that task. It's not our job. Y'all fuck them up, so y'all fix them. You and your Eisenhower cronies and everybody else that's involved in all of that stuff that y'all set up to falsely lift them up and make them think they were somebody that they really wasn't. Because, honey, quiet as it's kept. Like I said, well, anyway, on my other slides, I broke it down, so we'll talk about that later. And this is the general attitude of women. So if my life, gets worse because a man is in it, why would I want him? And this is a question that I ask men all the time. What is it that you have to offer woman? Why would she choose you? How are you going to make her life better, more happy? What are you doing? I'm still waiting for a dude to give me an answer. I've been asking that same question more than 20 years. They never have an answer. Well, but I work. Well, she got a job too. So she already working. So that's a moot point. So, what are you bringing to the table for her emotionally, psychologically, spiritually? What are you doing to make her feel like she just must be with you? That being with you, not being with you would be the greatest mistake that she could ever make in life. What are you offering her in that way? That's what I'm talking about. What you got going on there? And they just sit there looking at you, blinking like a cow chewing cud. They don't have nothing to say because they don't know to have what they had to offer because there is nothing. There's no answer. So if you can't offer a woman anything that's going to improve her life, make her happier, what in the world are you complaining about no woman wanting you for then? You don't have nothing to offer her. Let's do this is a reality check for you. Okay? Women are people too. We have needs and desires and things that we want out of life. If you're not going to provide them, which you don't even want to take somebody on a date and treat them like a romantic, something, you don't even want to do that. But yet you want all these benefits and perks from women's bodies. It's not going to happen, son. Like I said, y'all should have fought for abortion rights. You didn't. You sat on your asses playing video games. It's too late now. So this is the general attitude of most women, that men have brought nothing but destruction and wasted time. They attack the women's self-esteem and confidence in order to build themselves up. And just drama, just one upsetting thing after another. So when you have a situation like that, and like I said, this is worldwide. This is not just in the United States. It's not just in Canada. It's not just in the UK. It's everywhere. Men, there's something wrong with y'all. There's something wrong with y'all. But this guy, he's concentrating, on what happened here in the United States. But like I said, letters come to this advice column from all over the world, and the stories are the same. They just speak a different language. But the behaviors of the men are exactly the same. Very negative towards women, very uncaring, very selfish. So, after women gets out of these things and gets over that brainwashing, that the feeling like they must have a man, they realize that during the times when they were single versus the times when they weren't, they were happier. It takes women a while to arrive at that and feel okay with it, especially if they got the kind of family, they come from the kind of culture where marriage is expected. They're going to get, they're going to get pressured a lot by relatives and friends and whoever else. Why aren't you married? Or when are you going to get married? And when are you going to have grandchildren and all this kind of stuff? So it becomes a little bit of a struggle for them to stand up to that pressure, but it can be done, ladies. And we talk about, the risk of being pregnant. I mean, you likely to die or have some other horrible thing happen to your body requiring surgical repair. But for Black women, especially in the New York area, the death rate, the maternal death rate is sky high, like a third world country. Nobody can figure out exactly what's going on. I think people know, but they just don't want to say it because it's a political bomb. But the divorce rate in the U.S. is estimated between 50 to 80%, and that number varies based on the demographic, because women who have more economic resources, more educated, have more money, tend to be at the higher end of that spectrum. They ain't having it, and they deuce out real quick. Whereas a woman who has a plan and, she doesn't really have a job, or she makes a little low salary and they have a couple of kids, she's less likely to want to get a divorce like right away, because she's considering what's going to happen with her children and how they're going to eat and where they're going to live and stuff like that. So they're a little slower to divorce. But when a woman got it like that, man, the first time you act a fool, she's like, poop, deuces, hasta la vista, baby. And she gone. They don't have to be bothered with you. And people think, well, just little kids. No, grown kids can be a pain in the butt too. They always want something to want to live with you, and just a pain in the butt. So don't think it's better just because they're adults. So when women say men, a lot of men complain that, well, women always want to leave, they don't want to stay in a relationship. There's no point in getting married because they just leave you. Why do they leave you? They leave you for reasons that are completely under your control to prevent. So if you have a wife who leaves you, it's because you didn't hold up your end of the bargain, as I've been saying all through this show. You failed to do what you're supposed to be doing as a good husband. You failed, even as a good boyfriend. If she want to break up with you, it's the same thing. There's something you're not doing that you should be doing, or some crap you doing that you shouldn't be doing. It's going to be one of those two. So these are the top reasons women say they felt taken for granted. Too much responsibility for the man and the relationship was put on her, like the dudes who want to quit their jobs or not look for jobs and, just sit around smoking herbalicious and playing video games and let her pay all the bills and do all that kind of stuff by herself. I would kick you out. I wouldn't do that. But there's your ladies that feel like, well, that's my man and I want to support him. I want to take care of him and I want to take care of our relationship. I'm like, yeah, So there you go. Number two, you guys keep having the same arguments over and over. It never gets resolved. That's where the stonewalling and stuff comes in. You just don't want to hear it. You're not listening to her, or she asks for certain action and you just refuse to take it. Sometimes you say, yeah, I'll stop out. Yeah, baby, I'll do better. But you don't really mean it. And so you don't really do it. So nothing really happens. Some of you just suck between the sheets, just flat out. You don't know what the hell you doing, and you ain't trying to learn. Others of you have a severe communication breakdown. You don't really know how to communicate or how to listen, which is more than half the battle there. Listening, truly listening, not listening so you can interject, not listening so that you can find a counter argument, not listening so you can shut her down and tell her why it's not that way. That's not listening. Listening is hearing with your heart. Y'all don't want to do that. The number 5 thing is that she feels like she's just outgrown you. She's matured and you haven't. She's striving for greater and better later and you're not. She feels like you're an albatross around her neck because you're holding her back and weighing her down. So she got to let you go. And then final point, number 6, is that leaving is the only solution to prioritizing her needs because she's been giving for years, sometimes decades, to you and your raggedy kids and your raggedy parents and extended family and meeting your needs and doing parties, setting up parties for your boss and doing all this kind of stuff. And she's tired now. Nobody has ever steps up to take care of her and treat her special. She's worn out and she says, oh, she can't do it no more. So then she deuces out because she tried to tell you that she needs help and you don't listen. So those are the top 6 reasons why men get divorced. Like I said, each and every one of those things is in your power to prevent. It's not like it's something that falls from the sky and it lands on you. You have full participation in your relationship. And this is where you fall down and don't do what you're supposed to be doing to make your relationship and your woman a priority in your life. Any and everything and everybody and all this other stuff is more important than what you got going on at home. And until you understand that's your wife and your marriage should always be your top priority, then you're going to continue to be divorced because you don't have any sense. You don't understand what women put into a relationship. Then all she's asking you to do is meet her halfway. And you don't even want to do that. Oh, Lord. So these are why, the reasons why marriage is like, younger women are like, I don't know about all that. These are some of the things that they talk about. You can read that later. You can just pause the video and read that if you want to. Now, here's another comment from Tosca. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Donna. And we were talking about, that was the video I played a little bit earlier about men who are broke and feeling entitled to have a woman anyway. This is what she made her comment under. And she says, a broke man will dog you out like no other. He will hate you for being more successful than him and will try to tear you down to his level. Then other men will say, quote, you chose wrong, end quote, when you gave a Dusty a chance. Just trying to open up, just broaden your horizons. I never give Dusty a chance. I don't care. Behind every unsuccessful woman is a man dragging her down. I thought about that and I was like, damn, she's right. Whether that man is her father, a boyfriend, or a husband, women are held back most often by some man who's jealous, controlling, that doesn't want her to do better than him because he feels like it's going to make him look like he's less, which of course he is, but he don't want to look like it. So the best way for him to keep you down is, to keep himself up is to put you down so that you're beneath him. So she's right. I just couldn't think of any example of where that wasn't the case. So what we're seeing now is that women aren't forced to marry subpar men anymore. And many men don't deserve to have eggplant or nook, whatever you want to call it, and to procreate. It's an artificial system to give every man a wife. In nature, most males never pass on their genes. Even domestic livestock, we neuter 99% of the males and only breed the best males to the females. That's true, right? Stud fees, they call them, of prize horses and bulls and stuff. People pay money because they want those prize genes for themselves. The rest of them are spayed and neutered or whatever. She has a point. And you know how it is in nature. If you weak, you don't make it. So what's happened? So why are humans different? Well, let's talk about that. But we have more comments from her first. She says, human males have become very entitled and don't even want to do the bare minimum, like providing a nest and food like a male owl would to entice the female owl to breed with him. Males have no value outside of their accomplishments and their willingness to protect and provide. Nature knows this. Beings need to get back to this. We're seeing the results of males who never should have gotten to breed. Their sons are equally worthless. She is absolutely right. I've been saying this for a long time, but this particular author, this Scott Galloway person, gave me different perspectives on it, and I'm going to share those with you soon. I'm not sure where it is in the lineup. So another more quotes from Scott Galloway, Professor Galloway. He says our society needs to make a massive investment in men to make them more economically and emotionally viable. The lack of household formation will create a lot of young men who are terrible citizens. He's talking about, violence and um, self-harm and stuff like that, substance abuse, drunks, just, petty crimes or even serious crimes because they don't have anything positive to do with all their energy. They're just aimless and misdirected and they don't really have any purpose. He says that married households save twice the rate of single household. They are better citizens. They vote. They commit fewer crimes. But we have a dearth of economically and emotionally viable men in our current society. He sums it up by saying society doesn't value young men. And I'm wondering, do young men value themselves? I mean, in order for people to perceive you as valuable, you have to perceive yourself as valuable first. Then you will carry yourself that way. And then people will see that you are valuable by how you conduct yourself. You walk around with your pants under your butt, showing all your cheeks in your underwear, where you're not presenting a very viable image. You're walking around wearing the same clothes that you had on all week that you picked up off the floor and they smell like a barnyard animal. You're not presenting yourself as a viable candidate for really anything. You refuse to work and just try to sponge off of women and, even your mother. Well, you're a bum, sir. You don't deserve a woman. These are the kind of things, you don't want to go to school. You dropped out from high school and you're not really trying to do anything with yourself, trying to learn anything, not trying to better yourself as a human being or a man. No woman is going to want you except unless she's a loser herself, and there's going to be two losers together. Is that what you want? I mean, I'm not saying, if that's what you want and you're okay with it, then that's fine. But don't complain that you want a better woman and can't get one. Because she's not looking, she ain't checking for you. You ain't got nothing going on that she's interested in. So let's move on. Now, these are the things that after looking at Galloway's, listening to his interview and looking at the article on the Hill, I came up with 4 things that I think are the reasons why our society is the way that it is today. 4 huge things that impacted American culture. The first one was after World War II ended and Eisenhower created this middle class with the social programs and the jobs for the soldiers that were coming back from fighting. But like I talked about earlier, those jobs were mainly in factories and manufacturing, assembly lines, that kind of thing. And then those jobs kind of phased out. And then all of that stuff started being shipped overseas, so like India, China, Japan, that kind of stuff, because it was less expensive. The GI Bill, though, included advanced education and home ownership. However, less than 50% of the returning soldiers pursued college degrees. They had an opportunity to go to college for free. Here in California, the vets' children can still go to college for free. They go to a state university. They don't have to pay for their kids. The special program they have to sign up for and stuff. I didn't know that, but I found out about a year ago. Like, huh. Okay, number 2, and I've talked about this a lot, the neonatal intensive care units, which survive the lives of babies that normally Mother Nature just would have checked up out of here. By keeping them, by helping them. Of course, the parents want their child to live. I'm not saying that they're wrong for that. What I'm saying is this medical advancement put a lot of people, kept people alive that Mother Nature would normally not have made viable. They really weren't without these interventions. So these people grow up right now. They was defective when they were little. So whatever problems they had that made them have those problems is still being carried in their DNA and genes and whatever. Okay, but they made it. They cool. They went to school. They did whatever. The problem is though, those people now are in the dating pool with their defective DNA, genes, and whatever else. The problems that they had that made them almost not make it. So whatever that problem is, they're now passing that problem on to the next generation. And then those kids are passing on to the next generation. And so the human being type person we're having a lot of problems because of that. It's a lot of people who are alive and in the dating pool who wouldn't have been there if didn't have these medical interventions. Like I said, of course, parents are going to be happy their children survived. I'm sure they're happy they survived too. But what's that doing, though, to the culture as a whole? That's what I'm talking about. Something to think about. Okay. It was after World War II that all of this came about. Because before that, we had incubators before that. But still, by the time they sent them kids home, they didn't really make it. They might have lived a year, but they did not live long enough to make it into the dating pool and reproduce. That's what I'm saying. But now they do. Okay, my third point is that in 1972, after the end of the Vietnam War, they ended the draft in the United States. That used to pull not only did it pull young men into an environment that would teach them discipline and patience and give them focus and direction, right? They no longer had that. So then you compound it with the high numbers of single parent homes because all these men started dipping out on their kids for some reason. So you have these young boys with no direction and no man in their life to teach them anything. At least they would be able to get a little bit of direction about manhood by being in the service. But that went up in smoke. So just had a bunch of young men just walking around aimlessly. They're not in school. They didn't really want to work too tough, and they're not in the armed forces either. Because they could have developed trades and knowledge and stuff in the service, right? They train them they have to have a job, so they teach them something while they're in there, and then they get out with the GI Bill, and so they would have an opportunity to better themselves in their lives and find a wife and have kids and all that stuff. But they would have had that discipline while they were in there. But all of that went away in the 70s, early 70s. So everybody that came along after that never experienced that kind of stuff. They don't have that kind of discipline and focus. They didn't learn it. And the final point that I think was that impacted our society is the sexual revolution and the invention of the birth control pill for women. Because before that, before 1960, whatever that was when the pill was invented, 62, I think, women, it was the culture here. Like if you wanted to do the wild thing, you had to be married. And of course, a lot of people didn't do that, but that was the thing. They would have what they call a shotgun wedding, right? Why do you think Liz Taylor was married so many times? Because in that era, the only way to have nook and not be looked at as a garden tool was to be married. So what girlfriend would do every time she wanted some new nook, she would just get a divorce and be married. 9 husbands? Well, 2 of them was the same dude, but still. What you think was going on there? I already knew. Because that was the time that they lived in. She was a beautiful woman. Why should she be stuck with one dude? Please. He wasn't serving that stuff up right. She switched out and got somebody else, and that's how it should be. But I think all of those 4 things together permanently changed the landscape of male dating and relationships and male-female dating and relationships, I should say, in this country. It just turned everything around, and it all happened within just 15 years. This is my opinion. This is not a scientific fact, but if you put all these things together, like I did, I'm pretty sure you can agree with me. There's something to be said for these 4 things and the long-term impact they would have on our society. So what does that women really want anyway? What do women really want that they're not getting? Why are there so many single men and women don't even want to date them, talk to them, definitely ain't trying to marry them, don't want to sleep with them, nothing. They don't want anything to do with them. Why is that? What are the men not doing? Because women want these things and most men don't offer them. They just trying to get a hookup. So that means they're not really emotionally available. They're not really trying to invest emotions in you. They just want to talk to you enough so they can jump in your bed. That's all they're trying to do. Women know that. That's what the swipey things are primarily for. That's why there's 3 times as many men on those as there are women, because they just looking for a hookup. Them poor girls that's on there, I mean, some of them might be okay with that, but most of them is under mistaken belief that they're going to meet somebody just for a relationship. They don't understand that that's no. Get off the swipey thing and you will do better. So they want somebody who's going to share his feelings with them, honestly. Who's going to be open, who's going to be a true partner in all this, is really have their back and let her step up and have his too. And they're going to listen and they're going to empathize with each other. Not just her with him with her too. The second thing women are looking for is good communicators. They want honesty. They want clarity. They don't want corner cutting and game playing and that kind of stuff. They want your actions to match your words, dudes. If you say something, they want you to follow through, because then that's how they're going to know that you really meant what you said. And when she asks you, how do you feel about this and that, she wants you to give her a real answer, not just blow her off and say, well, what you asking me that for, and that kind of stuff. Shutting down, see, stonewalling. I don't want to talk about that. That's stonewalling. Your relationship needs you to talk about it. Your woman needs you to talk about it. It's not about what you want. Your relationship needs it. So open your damn mouth. Stop all that stupid stuff. And the final thing that women want is that their man share similar values. Now, this also encompasses things like family, even discipline of any children that you might have, and how you interact with your extended family, education, employment, money management. So for some, it might be religion. I mean, the whole bunch of things, but definitely mutual respect, similar dreams for the future, and similar interests in bed. Okay. Gotta have that. If you want your relationship to last. Though women still continue to face a stigma about being single and not having children, it's becoming less and less every year that goes by. It's just people get more and more used to it. They understand, especially, like I said, after this January when the abortion went away. Everybody got an eye-opening understanding why women don't want to be bothered. But bottom line is, in spite of what Dr. Galloway says about how the government should step in and start these programs to help young men, he feels like this country needs to make a massive investment in vocational training, develop affordable housing so that young people can own homes to raise their families in. That we develop policies that redistribute wealth from old people to young people. Because even something like I said, as simple as taking away the child tax credit. Well, if you're already struggling financially, now you can't even get no tax credit for your kids that you definitely want to have. But why did the government do that? And you complaining that there's not enough children being born, not enough relationships. That was just crazy. Other governments that want people to have children are doing things to support them having children, offering childcare for free, offering stuff to the families to make it, even people who not making that much money can still afford to have a child, because that's what the country needs, is younger people to sustain the population. But not here in the United States. They don't think like that. He also says that it's harder and more expensive to find each other, to mate and have children. And then the long-term result of that is that the economy goes into decline. And he feels like the most happiest and prosperous and purposeful people are those who are considered middle class, a middle class family. But our policies have punched the middle class family in the gut. And we're going to continue to lose prosperity and lose purpose as a nation until things are turned around and young men are brought into the fold to become better people so they can attract women to create marriages and families in these middle class households. But, I'm sure, he has a book. I forgot what the title is, but if you look up Scott Galloway on Amazon or something. I'm sure you can find it. Or he's at NYU. I think he's a marketing professor. But he looks so earnest, so concerned about this turn of events. I thought it would be a good thing for us to talk about because the way he makes it sound like, we about to be living Lord of the Flies or something. It was just wild. So our previous poll on, single women and marriage, it's like the women, ask the women these 4 questions. When were you the happiest and the best financially? And most of them, 76%, said that they were the happiest when they were single with no children. That was very telling. It was several hundred women that responded. It was just a couple of hours survey. I mean, I didn't put up a week advance or anything like that. I thought of it the day of the show. But this is what the women said, that they were the happiest, more than 3/4, when they were single with no children. Secondly is, they were coupled, like married or whatever, but no children. Once kids started getting involved in it, the numbers dropped drastically. And there you go. So let me go over here to YouTube and see what I can find on this survey page and see where we are. Hold on while I pull this up. Oops, live stream. Oh, why is my computer so slow? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. I'm clicking around trying to get to the page, y'all. I don't know why I didn't have this up before. That would have been too logical. Okay, let me do. How do you do the? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is what we got. Men in today's society, should women even think about a serious relationship with men? This is the results of our poll thus far. Yes, if she finds a good one, is 55%. No, it's too disappointing and useless, is 30%. If she has nothing better to do, is 7%. And undecided is 9%. So there you go. That's our poll for today. Let me save this. Oh, there we go. All right. Let me get back to where I was. Okay, so that's the results there. So now we can take questions. If you have any questions for me on this, you want to talk about the results or the discussion for the video that you saw on CNN with the interview with Dr. Scott Galloway, Professor Scott Galloway, rather. What do you think about what he says about them investing in men to make them viable emotionally and financially? What do you think the country can do about that? Is that our government's job? Isn't that parents' responsibility? And as these are grown men, isn't their responsibility to see what other men who are attracted to women have to offer and to use that as a role model instead of sitting around in groups online complaining and bitching and moaning? Isn't that more appropriate for a grown man to do? I thought it was, but you know, who am I? But I'm interested to see what you have to say. Let me get over here to the comments. I'm sorry, I forgot about it. If you want to call in, here's the link. I forgot to get to the chat. I wasn't on the chat the whole show. I just, it's just really interesting to me because I see, I can only talk about, look at my brothers and the men in my family, the men that I've been, personally involved with. I mean, I don't, I can only talk about what I know. And these guys were all self-motivated. There were certain expectations that they had of them, our parents had of them, and that they knew society had of them. And they met those expectations. And now, they've been like, one of my brothers, he'd been with the same woman for like 30 years or something. And then my other brother got married. I guess they've been together about 15, 16 years. And the other one, I mean, he's not married, but he's been the same one. Again, another like 30 years. The only one who's single is me. But, you know, she says, look at the countries where men are succeeding and follow them. Let's see. This makes sense. That makes sense. I wonder if they would do that. Well, he seems like Dr. Galloway. I don't know why I keep calling him Dr. Professor Galloway. He keeps saying we. And so we, it sounds like his idea of we is the government. He wants the government to do this, just like I guess they did when they stepped in with created that GI Bill and stuff at the end of World War II. Who built up women? Women built themselves up. Every time we turned around, our government was fighting us tooth and nail, trying to take away our rights, not prosecuting crimes for SA against us, not looking for the missing 100,000 Black women that nobody knows where they are. I don't see where women were being built up. We got hit with the trans agenda. They all up in our bathrooms and stuff, ogling our children in the locker rooms because they want to say that they're a girl. Where were women built up? Now, you made that statement. I need you to tell me where you get that idea from, because I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing where women have been under attack for years. Yet, as Maya Angelou says, still I stand, still I rise. Yeah, that's what he said. That's what I pulled. The video's on wait, or did I get that out of this Hill article? Well, anyway, he referenced the CNN host referenced the article on the Hill, and so I went and found it and read it. That might be where I got it from. But yeah, I was very surprised. I think he said 45%. It was less than half. I remember that, but exactly, I think it was 45, but don't quote me. But it was sad. For free. Now you didn't have to pay nothing. It just wasn't important to them, and I guess it's still not. Exactly. Exactly. I told you about these two dudes I met. One has his own plumbing business, one owns an electrical business, and they built shops side by side. Mature Black men, and they offered to train for free. Now, those journeyman programs like that cost usually they charge, but they went to the hood and they signed up a couple of young men each to come, and they were going to train to be electricians and plumbers for free. And do you know that none of them boys showed up? They just dropped out and they didn't want to be bothered. They didn't want to be bothered. Electricians and plumbers make really good money. And if you don't have a high school you only have a high school education, or you don't even have that, that's a way for you to have a viable career for the rest of your life, as long as you can move around. And even if you can't move around, you could teach other people, just like these older cats was going to do. This is not the show for advice. We're talking about a specific topic tonight. You have to either send that in to the advice submission form, go to debsterism.com, or wait until we have one of our advice shows. It's on the Tuesday, the third Thursday of each month. Yes, thank you, Shay. Get some people to call in and get their comments on the air, because y'all be just so talkative on the wall. Yeah, girl, because this and that and blah blah blah. And now when I want you to call in, don't nobody want to call. You would love to learn that? That's what I'm saying. Girl, can you imagine? Because it don't seem that hard. I mean, I would kind of be a little bit leery about messing with electrical, but I mean, if you turn the box off, you'd be okay. Because I'm not trying to be, getting shocked and stuff. But yeah, they make a lot of money. She said that's too much work for them. I think you're right, Miss Eve. They're going to that class and trying to learn how to be a plumber or electrician was going to interrupt their video game playing. No, he did not. Girl, I'm glad he's an ex because he was a dusty, a super dusty. Unbelievable. Me and Shay trying to get somebody to call in. We need a mandatory high school class. Wait, let me see this. They used to have stuff like that. They used to have like shop, woodworking, auto mechanic. They used to have classes so it teach boys a trade before they even got out of high school. They would know something, how to build something, fix something, do something with themselves. They could go on and get a job as a mechanic, an intern or trainee or whatever they call it at a auto repair place. It's not the cleanest work, but mechanics make great money, especially foreign car mechanics. They make just buku bucks. And in California here, we love our cars here, so you guaranteed a job forever. Yeah, so this is the kind of thing like I think as a parent, if you see that your son he's not like sharp academically. I mean, he gets by, but that's not his forte. But you see that he's good with his hands. Well, then it would be something that you should do to start investigating how you can direct your son to something that will utilize his talents and skills so that he has a professional career. And you start doing that while they're young. So by the time they graduate from high school, they're ready to do it. But, I don't know. See, a lot of what I'm thinking is happening here is just poor parenting. The parents don't know what the hell they're doing, and so they're raising a bunch of kids that don't know what the hell they're doing either. Well, it's not a matter of playing favorites. It's a matter of helping the people who need it. See, that kind of comment like there is just like that's the same argument that white people had about black people getting some EEOC opportunities. So if you have somebody that's behind, this is a matter of not equality and fairness, but something called equity. So the person who's behind gets more help than the person who's ahead of them. But, by the time there's a level playing field, then yes, you're right. Then everybody gets it. But it's not favorite if you're trying to bring somebody up to the level of somebody else where someone else is. My problem is not that. My problem is if girls did it, why can't dudes? Dudes had a 300-year head start on us with all the patriarchal stuff that they had in place for themselves. So what happened? You made yourselves kings and rulers of the world. We couldn't do nothing. We couldn't vote. We couldn't own no property. We had to wear stupid big dresses all the time. Couldn't run. Couldn't even ride a horse. Had to ride side saddle and stupid stuff like that. Well, you didn't want women to know how to do anything because it made you feel like kings and rulers. Okay, well, now that those things are gone away, what are you doing for yourselves? That's the problem I'm having. If women could come be from behind with all of that, like I said, plus we had to fight sexism, and for women of other races like Native American, Black, Asian, Latina, we also had to fight racism, and we can still rise. What is your problem, white boys? What is wrong with you? You in a country, racist ass country in the world, and you sitting up there wearing everything, having all the accoutrements of benefits and all the perks and benefits, being a white boy in America, and you still a failure? You just want to be a failure then. I can't have any pity for people like that. It's not working. Did I make the right thing? Copy. I thought I copied it. Yeah, just click that and it should, well, try it again. I don't know. If it doesn't work, then I guess it's just not working. Yeah, because there's equality and then there's equity. And the people who are short need a taller ladder. The people who are behind need to be lifted up a little higher than somebody who can just stand there on their own. So that, to me, that was the argument for having the equal opportunity kind of situations to get black people up to speed where the white people already were. Okay, let me get Shay. Oh, I guess she was testing the link. Oh, okay, that must be what she was testing the link. Okay, Shay was here. I guess it does work, y'all, but you got to just click that link right there. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. 1025. There is no excuse. Okay, thanks, Shay. That's what I thought you were doing, testing it. So whoever said it wasn't working, try the link we just pasted in there. And I don't know. I just can't feel sorry for him. She says, I had a friend who worked at a car dealership. I think after a few months of working there, he was getting paid $20 an hour for someone who lives at home. Yeah, and somebody who just started working. That's really good. What's going on, Jim Doll?
Oh, hey, lady, can y'all hear me?
Yes, just fine.
All right. I didn't know if I was in here or not, man. It's been a minute, Miss Deb.
It has. What's going on?
Yeah, so you know that, yeah, that was my ex-husband that I spoke with you about years and years ago on the show. That was him. He had an opportunity. His friend has set up a business doing lawn care, and they were all veterans, and I was excited. I'm like, okay, some people will rock with you just because you were a veteran. They will take you up on that service just because of that. They'll support you.
Right.
But this guy, he wouldn't even go out and hand out the flyers. He wouldn't even go out and hand out the flyers. So his friend invested in the company and set everything up, got a whole bunch of trucks, got equipment and everything like that. He didn't want to go hand out flyers. And I don't remember everything that ended up happening with the company, but he completely screwed his friend over. They ended up having to shut the business down and everything. And I'm like, we got people over here in this country that aren't from this country or were raised somewhere else, and they're out here fighting for their lives, trying to get jobs and get opportunities. And here you are, a Marine veteran who wasted away his GI Bill, didn't complete his degree, ended up still owing money, and then you wasted away an opportunity to have your own lawn care business. So I say all that to say that I don't think them giving them opportunities and putting them in place with programs is going to help, because they just don't want to do anything. It's just
Right.
laziness. So they're still not going to change. They're going to set up these opportunities for the men, and they're going to waste it away like they have been doing with everything else.
I'm in agreement because I feel like those who want to will make it happen.
No matter
They're gonna do
what.
everything that in their power to get to where make their dream happen. They don't look for nobody to do it for them like they're 2 years old and looking for mommy.
And just like you were saying earlier, I really want that person who made that comment and said that women have had opportunities and things given to them. I really wish they would expand on that, because I don't know where that's ever happened. And they went on to say, well, in school, in schooling, and or something like that. And I'm like, okay, where? What are you
Yeah,
talking about? Professionally in schooling, we never had anything handed to us.
ever.
We fought and crawled through the mud and made it out of the dirt. Nobody's handed us anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm with you. I was waiting for that explanation as well, and I even missed that part. Um, when okay, she's like when it was just men in schools, they thrive. When this gorgeous creature came on, they lost their focus. Oh, well, the bottom line is they could see beautiful creatures uh when they left school. So that didn't matter. You're gonna see women everywhere. Women are half the sky. Women are half the population on this planet. So that's no excuse. If you can't even look at a woman and you lose your mind to the point where you mess up yourself in school behind it, well then you're just stupid. And nobody can help
Exactly.
you. Nobody can help
Exactly.
you. Girl, and your ex, I'm glad he's an ex because he sound like a nut.
He was one of those guys that his looks carried him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
He was just supermodel type guy, bodybuilder, six pack, nice hair, just everything look wise. But I used to tell him, I said, you gotta bring more to the party than just how you look.
right.
Where your
But he could have
side
used
dishes
that to
at?
his advantage when he out them flyers, though.
Girl,
Walked around without his shirt on and be walking up to people's doors talking about hi.
he has so many opportunities, and I finally got him to get into personal training, and he was doing good at that, but he couldn't keep it together with that, because you know how they are with the eggplant. So he
Yeah.
couldn't keep that together either. And I'm just like, that's your business. You can't be out here sleeping with your clients. Just a mess, girl. Just a mess. He got 7 kids now. Seven. Seven.
Whew.
So I'm look, me, all I'm trying to do is get on jets. I'm trying to get on jets and go overseas and travel and live my life, and it's been great. I have no regrets.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you finally got a chance to call in to say hi.
I'm trying to see when I'm gonna get a chance to do this meet and greet, man.
Girl, well, they just now lifted the state of emergency like what the end of the month. So it's been what 3 or 4 days ago.
Man, I told Diana Prince, I said, look, I'm gonna be in San Diego at the end of this month. I know y'all in Cali. Where y'all
Yeah,
at?
we're in the northern part.
I know. I gotta make it up that way too.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try to get something together. Maybe if this stays this way, later in the summer could do
Well,
something. But
that
they
would be
just
great.
yeah,
I
that would be.
definitely would come out. I definitely would come out to meet everybody.
That would be lovely. Yeah, because I tried to do it and then we had the COVID thing shut the whole state down. Well, the whole country got shut down.
I
So
was so
that was the end
sad.
of that.
Yep.
But okay, girl, tight. Thanks for calling in. I'll
All
talk to
right.
you
Who
later.
next? Who next?
I know. I don't know. We'll see.
All
Bye.
right. Good night.
Yeah, who is next? Who else got something they want to add to this conversation? Who else has something to say? And she say when there's manufacturing jobs and they don't like school. They don't like school. Oh, please expand on that. That's interesting. Yeah, we do have a lot of people here that are teachers, educators, and they have said similar things that the boys students are, kind of like not focused too well. Well, you said women had some advantages or something. You said something like that up there. I forgot exact wording, but it alluded to the fact that women were given opportunities that men were not, and we're trying to figure out when did that happen. That's what I'm saying. That's what we're talking about. Because they used to have women only schools too. But when women went to school with men, they still stayed focused. So what's the problem? Again, that must mean that women are better than men. That must be what that means. I'm reading all the stuff that says here. Oh, zing. Said they should become stylists since they seem to be so focused on wigs and weaves. I know that's right. I always got something to say. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I guess I should scroll down and look to see if there was another comment by our educator, but I've forgotten. Exactly. But the girls don't be trying to be bothered with them. So I don't know what they're talking about. Any problems that they're having is problems of their own making because they are focused on the girls. The girls not tripping on them. They playing jump rope and doing whatever they're doing with their little girly friends. Okay, glass size, time for a little education. Scholarships are set up to focus on a specific target group. There are millions of them. They might be for single parents, males or female. They might be for Spanish speaking people. They might be for people over 40 trying to return to school to get a degree. They might be for women who were single mothers. They might be for young men who were in prison and now they got out and it's a reentry scholarship so they get a chance to go to school. There are all kinds of programs and all kinds of things. They have LGBTQ, whatever, all them letters, uh, scholarships for people who fall into that category. They have scholarships for trans kids. They have scholarships for people who survived cancer. They have scholarships for everybody and every classification. It doesn't matter that you saw one for women. Okay. There's an equal, if not greater number for men. There's men with, who was in the Marines, men who are interested in, some kind of sport or something. They have different sports scholarships. There's all kinds of scholarships. There's no one kind of scholarship. And they all are targeting a different type of person. So, and there's some for men, there's some for women, and then there's some for whoever applies, like for grades and stuff like that. So I disagree once again with your position. They have them by race, like ethnicity, like the NAACP or something. What some black colleges, they'll have scholarships there, but you got to go to their school. So obviously, since it's a historically black college, most likely not written in stone, you're going to be black. So yeah, there's all of those too. Anybody want to call in? Anybody got a comment? There is the link. You just click it. Say boys don't read books either. They don't really seem to. My mother used to make us read. We all enjoyed it though. But I would read voluntarily. Like every Wednesday, me and my little friend Terry, starting when I was in the fourth grade, would go to the library in downtown San Francisco. The main branch library was not too far from where we lived. And we would go there and we would get books for the week. And I would read all those books. And then I would go back the next Wednesday, I would take them back and get some more. That was my life for years. So I loved reading, loved it. But my brothers, well, they would read, but generally they want to do stuff like fight and ride their bikes and, fight and build stuff with their blocks and, do stuff like that. Play with the dogs, whatever. I would do some of that too. But then I liked my quiet, alone time and I would read. So I'm going to go in the backyard and sit on the swing and read. lay on the grass and read, sit in my mother's lawn chair and read, lay on my bed and read, go to my grandmother's and sit in the easy chair and read. I always had a book with me. Yes, the little library right in the room. Yeah, that's good. Our house was big. We had a converted Victorian. It was converted from two flats into one house. So we had a whole room that was the library. That's where we used to do our homework. My dad's put a big table there and had the four chairs there. And then all the walls were books, floor to ceiling books. And in those old days, people used to have books that were actually encyclopedias. You'd have to get them to get a new one every, I think, 3 or 4 years, something like that. And they cost a grip. But we had 3 sets of encyclopedias at our house, plus, whatever they had at the library. Yeah, reading is this thing I think, and it seems like kids don't really read anymore. They don't even read on those little tablets and stuff that they have. Everybody wants to just play games or watch movies or cartoons or something. So it would be good parents, especially um to let your children read out loud to you. It teaches them to enunciate, it teaches them spelling, and it helps them become better readers. What I used to do with my daughters while I cooked dinner, I would have her sit at the dining room table, not too far from me, so I could still hear her, and read me a story every day. She had to read something. It might be 2 pages of a larger book that she was there to write a book report on or something like that. And then I would help her pronounce the words and, figure out what the words were. And maybe after she got older, I taught her to look at the words up in a dictionary so she could do that independent of me and build her vocabulary. So now my daughter's an excellent public speaker and excellent reader. She got a lot of practice. And that's important as you go through life because you never know what kind of career your child is going to be called into. And a lot of times making presentations and being able to read out loud is a part of the job. Not just read the words and some droning on and on thing, but with passion, with excitement, with the proper emoting. It's good to make them a good reader. So that's something, that's easy. It's not going to cost you really any time because you're already going to be cooking anyway. But it just gets the kid away from the television or the screen into a book, and it has them right there where you're paying attention to them. So they're going to love that part. And then you let them read to you every day, or at least every time you're cooking. Okay. It'd be a little routine. They'll start to love it. As soon as they see you grab some pots, they're going to grab their book because they know it's read to mommy time. It's funny how kids get into little routines and the stuff that they like after they do it a few times, especially if you promote it as, one-on-one time where it's just going to be the two of you and they do a good job and you put the pot down and you go over and give them a little hug and a kiss and stuff. They're going to love it. They love that attention. What did she say? She say she dumped him for using the wrong there. Yes. They apostrophe RETHEIR. Yeah, a lot of people do that online. You see them like, oh my God, who taught you English? This is awful. Yeah, those are people whose parents, like I said, this is important because, like, a lot of times, okay, just for example, I was in a meeting, I don't know, about a month ago, I was in this meeting and, we're going over a contract, right? Or several contracts. And so, what the guy wanted us to do was take turns reading a clause. And that's just what you just said. That was what happened. And this is like, professional people that I was shocked to hear how poorly they read. It was just awful. They were stuttering and stumbling and hesitating and, and on and just, it was awful. It was awful. And the owner of the business was just, you could see his face. He wanted to do a face palm, but, it's too late. You just can't say to somebody, oh, just stop now. Stop. You torturing us. He couldn't do that. So he just let them struggle through. And then it got to my part. And then I just, flowed through it and read it with the proper pronunciation and punctuation and pauses and everything. And he's like, oh my God, that was just so beautiful to hear. And I'm like, But that's how I got that practice. I'm telling y'all, it works like a charm. You got to do that with your kids, and it doesn't matter how old they are. They can be in high school. If they're poor readers, this is something that you should, try to get them together before they head off to college. Help your kids. Okay? You don't have to hold their hand, but you have to set up a situation where they can be successful under your guidance while they're still children. You don't want to turn them out into the world as adults with poor reading skills, especially if they have poor reading comprehension. They're not going to understand anything they read and have to read it 97 times, in which case they're going to get behind in school and in work because they're not going to meet deadlines because they're not understanding what they're reading. It's unbelievable. Yeah, reading comprehension is just the worst. It's people who read something and don't understand what they read. Like, the key points, whatever the focus and point is of this paragraph or story or whatever, over their head, they don't get it. They focus on something else. And I'll be sitting there like, I wonder where they got that from. And I think, well, what is that? What is it? And I said, well, the real point is this. And they're like, oh, how do you know that? And I'm like, oh my God. You don't want to call people stupid because, the educational system varies from place to place. It just, I'm not into that name calling thing unless they doing something like super bonehead dumb, like on the vice column. But, in a situation like that where it's not their fault that they were poorly educated as children. That's up to the parents to augment that at home. The school can only do so much. You have to get off your butt as a parent and fill in the gaps. And to me, reading is the number one thing that people need, that people's kids struggle with. They struggle with it. Excellent. That will always help him because, you just never know. I mean, you just never. I think I work for attorneys, right? And you would think someone that bright would have excellent writing skills. No, try again. They're some of the worst spellers and worst writers, and sentence structure is all kinds of jacked up. I mean, they knew what they was trying to say, but the way it came out was like challenged. And so, you go in and you kind of tighten it up and fix it and give it back to them. It's like, okay, is this what you were trying to say? Yeah, I mean, sometimes I might be wrong. I'm, not perfect. But in general, I would be, yeah, this sounds really good. Yes, this is exactly what I'm trying to say. So they don't really have good reading skills, writing skills, or they use too many words. I mean, there's so many words, is that by the time they finish trying to communicate what their thought was and what the concept is, I don't know about y'all, but I think I have the adult ADHD. My mind is thinking about something else because it took them too long to get to the end of the sentence, end of the paragraph or whatever. I'm like, okay, what was the first part again? Can you hit that again and so I remind me what you were trying to talk about? And it's awful, but that's how I am. I want the Cliff Notes version. Give it to me so we can get on with this. Oops. Oh, is it? Wow, for parents though. Yeah. If that girl, if ninth grade. And by the time they graduate from college, it's still like that. So you know what I tell people when I help them with they have these job applications, right? And most of them you have to write an essay or do a supplemental questions and stuff. In Microsoft Word, I forgot what it's called, but they have the ability to scan what you wrote, and then it tells you if it's collegiate level, high school, what reading grade level your writing style is. Mine, if I just left to my druthers, is collegiate level. So what I had to do was go in there. After I found out about this, I was horrified. It's like, okay, they're not. Then generally people don't understand that, so you got to kind of dumb it down to like 8th grade reading level. And most people, no matter, even if they're in college or whatever, will be able to comprehend what you're saying very clearly. So you have to make short sentences. You have to use like small words, not big words. You don't want to use any industry jargon, no acronyms, and you want to fully explain, to the point where it's just, you feel like you're going to just be sick because it's so much detail. But if you ever do a supplemental application for a job, keep those points in mind. Those are the things that you need to do. You never know who's going to be reading those applications. You cannot assume because that person is a director or some kind of manager or something in HR that they have the reading comprehension or the reading level to really appreciate what it is that you wrote. You want to dumb it down and you want to do those points like short sentences, no industry jargon, small words that explain what you're saying, and you want to use as few words as possible to get your message across. For us folks with ADHD, ADD, whatever you call it, and that will help. That will help you. They understand what you're saying and what your experience is and stuff. You're more likely to get called for an interview. If you try out all your big words and your degrees and the fact that you are using all this academic lingo and stuff, they're gonna not understand what the hell you're talking about. And the third grade, oh, that's probably even better. I usually try to write mine for 8th grade level. So that usually works. You took a technical writing class? Oh, that sounds interesting. Well, see, just listening to all of these, we're talking about these different things, but you guys might not understand. But the point where I'm doing this is because even though you might not be aware of what you're doing now is giving the young men who are listening to this ideas for ways to develop themselves. Did you catch that? How slick, huh? These are ways for them to develop themselves because these ideas that you're throwing out, the classes that you took, the concepts, the things that we do at home with our own kids, the things that we've done with our children, the things that we've done. These are ideas that the young men listening to this Professor Galloway, he's talking about creating an infrastructure for these young men to do better and more and be greater. We just gave them a lot of ideas to build a stronger foundation. Did we not do that, ladies? See, y'all didn't even know that's what you was doing, but that's what you was doing. And they can take these things, these basic improvement skills, and build on them. But I know one thing, if you're not a good reader, there's nothing you can do as far as getting through a job, getting through a training course, a journeyman course, a trade school, a certification stuff. You have to be a good reader. You have to be a good reader so you understand what you're reading. You understand how to apply it in the field. So, yeah. What DP talking about? Yeah. Yeah, they just let them in because they're in there for sports. Too many people need to be spoon-fed instead of figuring things out on their own. Exactly. And that, to me, that's kind of the danger of what Professor Galloway is talking about, because he's thinking he's going to help these young men and, create a equitable situation where they can get back, on their feet and stuff. And I'm sure it would be helpful to some. My concern is if you have millions of young men, they've already demonstrated the fact that they're not real motivated to do anything or change themselves. And these basically would be spoon feeding them opportunities to make themselves. Or are they going to do it? And the main thing is, even if they do it, will they have the motivation to take what they've learned and put it to use in an employment situation? If we're talking, those are two different things. You can provide, take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And so it's going to be interesting if he is. The guy, he's in NYU. I'm sure he has the ability to reach out and some political connection to get something going, at least in New York City, as a pilot, perhaps. But it would be interesting for me to follow up and, see what he's done with these ideas in a couple of years and what direction he's taking them, because he seems so passionate about it in the CNN interview. He was just so, on fire about it. But I'm telling you, parents, aunties, grandparents, older sisters and brothers, if you have young kids in your family and they cannot read well, please do something about it. If they are having real problems, have them tested to see if they have dyslexia. There are programs that they will help the children, even with dyslexia, succeed, and they can go to college and be, just do whatever they need to do. But you have to put in the effort. You've got to make sure that young children read. As a matter of fact, I did a video about that, probably about 10 years ago, that's on this channel about helping children read. and it is the same kind of concepts. I firmly believe in that. You've got to create an environment where your child is reading to you instead of watching TV all the time or playing video games. Get some books. You don't have to pay any money. Get a library card and go take your kid down and pick a book out that your kid is interested in, because that's going to help them. And then you sit there with them and let them read it, and you help them pronounce it. You help them spell out the words, sound out the words, all that stuff. And then when they finish that book, you let them read it to you a second time by themselves. And then when they master that, you take that book back and you get a different one. You let them feel successful before you move on to the next one, the next challenge. They should be able to read that by themselves to you pretty well by the third try or so. Let's see. Well, that ain't gonna happen here, girlfriend. They don't even want to give you a check when they owe you money. So mm-hmm. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. He'll do well when he gets to college, because you got to read. You got to read a lot, and you have to read fast. If you're a slow reader, man, ooh, you're gonna be having some problems. Won't be able to keep up. Yeah, it's amazing to me when I go to some stop and visit folks. They don't have any books, not a book in their house. Maybe a Bible. That's about it. But they got a TV in every room, even the kitchen. No books though. Then you wonder, what kind of life is this child gonna have with no books in home? The only books they see is at school. If that's your household, parents, do better. Just because you didn't grow up in a house with books does not mean that your child should do the same. Get some books in your house so your kids have something to do besides stare at the idiot box or stare at a screen and go blind. Because we still don't know what damage that's doing to people's eyes. This is all new. This is an experiment on the human body. Nobody knows. So all these little kids, they got babies now, 2 years old and less, watching screens. They buying them iPads and stuff. That's folly, because you don't know what that's doing to your child's brain or eyes. I would not put my child near a screen until that kid was school age at earliest. But that ain't what's happening. Well, let's get ready to wind this up, because I'm hungry. It's 6 o'clock. You hear the spectacles and no sports or dance teams? Well, she can do that outside of school. She don't have to do that in school. They have them kind of programs after school. Yeah, exactly. Because those books are fun. I used to love to go to those things at my daughter's school. I would be ordering all kind of stuff. I have to be like, wait a minute, I done spent $200. I need to put some of this back. Yeah, this is good. You guys got a lot of really good ideas here, and I think um, it'll be helpful to the young man looking at this. So, as I said, that there's a video on the channel, something about books and kids. I don't remember the title. I did it so long ago, but it basically is a blueprint for how to get books into your community, so that children can read. There are a lot of places that will donate books. And if you have somebody with an old van or something that they can put the books there, the kids, you drive up and can distribute the books. The kids can bring the books back, or they can just keep the books. I mean, they're donated, so it's not like you really need them. But then that gives the children the opportunity to start building a library in their home of books that they're interested in. And they can book, I used to like to read the same books over and over. Stuart Little, the book about the little mouse who had a car and traveled all over the place. I must have read that book 50 times when I was a kid. It was just fascinating to me that this little mouse could walk and talk and they had to drive like a little car. I thought this is just like the best. So stuff like that. It's very imaginative. And it's a story. I just loved it. I loved that book. But this was good, you guys. Thank you for coming to the Sunday sermon for the 1st of March on Women's History Month. Like I said, please hit the subscription button if you're not already a subscriber so you can keep up with what's going to be going on, because I plan to do at least one video a week for this entire month, focusing on women and where women are in the current society, or where we can try to go, how we can make ourselves greater later. That's what we're going to talk about. I mean, I don't know what the focus of Women's History Month is this year. I think it has a theme, but whatever. We're going to have our own thing. Since we didn't get to have Debbie where we're going to do this, okay? So you guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening and be here on Tuesday. Hopefully Candace will, if not Tuesday, then Wednesday. But so far she's been messing up, and so it has to keep being Wednesday. But we'll hope for Tuesday. If not, then Wednesday. But it's going to be one of them 2 days, all right? Hit that subscription button on your way out. I'll see you guys Tuesday or